The content of this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the guidance of your healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding your mental or physical health. The views expressed are those of the host and guests and do not replace personalized care from a licensed professional.
Welcome to Mindful Moments with Pedro Morante, a space where a nurse practitioner and educator shares real talk on mental wellness, mindfulness, and navigating life in and out of healthcare. Let's take a moment to breathe, reflect, and grow together.
Very important, guys, to start slow, go steady. No, it's not a fast race. We're all in this together.
There's a lot of anxiety, depression, and PTSD going on. So just need to make sure that our message as a provider is heard by our minority patients. Making sure that we are here for you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Mindful Moments with Pedro Morante. In honor of National Nurses Month and also Mental Health Awareness Month, today's episode is extra special. It's entitled Healing the Healers, Mental Health, Nursing, and Resilience in Today's World. So we're having a conversation about caring for the caregivers, the people who spend their lives supporting others while often caring so much for themselves. We are so excited to join by Miss Kimberly Heath, Doctor of Nursing Practice, Psychiatric Mental Health Nurse Practitioner Board Certified, U.S. Navy veteran, and also behavioral health leader with over 12 years of experience in mental health, addiction support, maternal child care, and community outreach. Kimberly, thank you so much for being here with us today, and happy Nurses Month to us.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. We've been talking about this conversation. I know it's your first time being in the podcast. We want to make sure you're at ease, but we just want to get to know you as a mental health nurse practitioner and your journey also with your own mental health. And my first question to you is, what inspired you to pursue nursing and eventually specialize in psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner?
I feel like nursing in general has been wasn't just my first degree. It wasn't my first choice. But I think what led me there is just I'm overall always wanted to help someone and give back to a community. And I finally discovered nursing and how it really does, I think, give back in a multitude of ways. And it doesn't have to be in a hospital setting. It can be in an education setting or a specific population. So once I think I figured that out, I decided to pursue nursing. And then while I was in the Navy, honing in my skills of being a nurse, I discovered that women and children, I felt like was a vulnerable population, especially in the military. And I wanted to figure out how to support them long-term and caring. So I went and got my doctorate in mental health so that I could my goal is to give back to women and children.
Great. And there's so much need for it, especially with what's going on right now, right? Our economy and what's going on with everybody that is really struggling with what they have. Like, it could be financial, it could be role strain, or it could be burnout syndrome too. And was there a defining moment that made behavioral health as your passion or calling?
Honestly, I think it was when I was a postpartum nurse. I saw many women, for a multitude of reasons, I felt like struggle mentally and emotionally, regardless if it was being a first-time mom, or maybe it was the birth experience, or And maybe it was a mom that has multitude of children and their partner, husband, wife were deployed, and now they're left with to figure out this transition in life, really with not too much support or guidance or education. So I just heard a lot about a lot of anxiety, depression, postpartum depression, which then leads to then the kids have to take the brunt of it, and and then the mom always expressed guilt and remorse, and I think it's a lot. It's a lot of emotions and challenges that the mother, the child, the family continue to face. And so, just when you do your rounds as a nurse, you hear the stories and the emotions that these individuals go through and share with you as you're doing your rounds. And it made me, that was the turning point for me. It made me want to give back and support them.
And with the ongoing situations and also challenges and struggles within our healthcare system, we really need somebody to support this specific population, especially perinatal. Depression could be very common and could range from postpartum blues, right? Postpartum depression, and then postpartum psychosis.
Yeah.
And we know that you, as a mom and as a woman, also is able to relate to them, and you need to make sure that they are seen, validated, and heard, and they are not alone, because a lot of these patients that we serve right now could feel like, oh, there's no easy way out. Oh, this is the feeling that they're isolating, and they are hurting in silence. And is there anything that they can do to offset the symptoms that they're feeling right now?
There are things that they can do. They can always the power of positive affirmations and just focusing on the positivity, I think, is very powerful. But if things seem a little too hard, or maybe it's not, like you feel like that's too hard, I mean, just even finding a safe place to vent or just talk to somebody if you have somebody. And if you don't, then the next resource that I would give or encourage others to reach out to would be like 988 is the closest. But just having somebody to talk to, vent, but really positive affirmations. Never leave yourself in a negative spot. Never be negative with your children or your loved ones. You try to always replace a negative with a positive, even when it feels challenging, because that's really what's going to change your outlook on life, your motivation, and how you see the world, which ultimately then will change, I think, your quality of life, and your outlook on life basically will improve.
I like that you emphasize positive affirmation. It's basically true. As they said, our mindset is our biggest asset, right? So we think about positive things, the more that there will be a positive outcomes, right? But when we are stuck in a negative thinking, then all of those kind of like produce cortisol and negative emotions turn into negative energy, and those negative energy kind of like affect how we think and how we feel and how we behave.
Yes. Yeah. And when you practice, the positivity and the affirmations and replacing a negative with a positive, it naturally releases dopamine in your brain. And so then that is a natural way and a healthy way of improving your depression or even reducing your anxiety.
I agree with you. That's the dopamine reward pathway, basically from your ventral tegmental area. And now, how did your experience in the U.S. Navy also shape your leadership and perspective on mental health? And by the way, thank you for your service.
Thanks. I appreciate that. I think it really showed me, another side of it besides just postpartum is the struggles that all military face and veterans face on a daily basis. It's a very demanding culture and structure that not everybody's been exposed to or familiar with. and know how to adjust. So it naturally is going to increase anxiety, maybe depression, especially if you've been exposed to like PTSD. Um, those are things that I think I have experienced and seen in all veterans and military personnel. So it influenced me again. That's another population that I feel connection with, and I want to support and have an outreach for also. So not only women and children, but I think those suffering with hypervigilance or nightmares and trauma, I think also need a place of support, and relief, regardless if it's through medication or cognitive behavioral therapy, those kind of treatments.
Thank you. And I think with your lived experiences, you're able to connect well to your patients as a veteran yourself, and having those live experience that they can share, and you have those commonality, and it's easier to connect with. And now, since May is Mental Health Awareness Month, what conversations should healthcare professionals be having more openly today?
I think more openly just about, which sometimes is hard, emotions, how they're feeling, being affected. These are conversations that I feel that many people should be, asked, like, how are you doing today? Are you doing okay? And not be afraid to tell the truth instead of, yeah, everything's fine. I feel like sometimes that's like the easy knee-jerk reaction, but sometimes just having that connection on emotional, mental level and just feeling heard is, could go, further.
I agree. And a lot of providers also are hesitant to ask for help themselves, right? Why do you think so many providers then hesitate to ask for help themselves?
I think there's that stereotype. I think that's there and stuck with them, that they think maybe they're afraid of other people judging them because maybe they're supposed to have all this education or background or training, that maybe they're not going to be seen as a population that needs support or help. But actually, we take on quite a bit the brunt of it. Well, speaking from a psychiatrist's point of view, right, mental health point of view, it's like we constantly hear the struggles of what people face, and sometimes it can wear on us. And so I think sometimes we have to be vulnerable and say we need a safe place to talk or to rely on, which sometimes I think, as anybody, we're afraid of being judged, right?
I agree. And as they said, sometimes the doctors, the nurse practitioners, and even healthcare workers are hesitant to seek help because they think that that they're okay and they're able to function still, and they think that they either want to sacrifice their own health to save others, as they said, right? So
Mm.
sometimes burnout happens on that aspect, and it's a big conversations right now. What's warning signs should people look out for if they're experiencing this burnout and emotional exhaustion?
I feel like some signs would be if they feel like they don't have any compassion, maybe they have apathy, um, maybe they feel like they can't connect, increased irritability. I would say those are, maybe they can't sit through the day and they feel like annoyance. Maybe those are all signs that maybe they're getting burnt out. Um, I think compassion's like the big thing, right? I think that's the first thing that goes.
I think compassion fatigue can happen, and
Yeah.
there will come a time that they feel like, oh my god, what am I doing? Is this really the things that I would like to do in my life? Or they don't have motivation, the burning desire to do their task, because it can be repetitive, right? Clocking in, clocking out, and doing the same routine each day. And as they said, repetition. So we should make sure that we take care of our own mental health, because when we always do the routine, our brain is patterned like, oh my god, there's nothing to hope for, there's nothing exciting each day. And as we're in, we can also feel that our motivation is at its lowest and we don't like what we're doing. We're going to end up hating what we're doing every day.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That
We're
is
just,
true.
we're just human being, right? If we eat like cake every day, then we don't like that one. If we eat like hot dog every day or rice every day and there's no variety, it seems like it's a routine and nothing exciting or nothing to expect or nothing
Yes.
to be rooting for, as per se, right?
Mhm.
So a lot of our audience also would like to know, how do you take care of your own mental health?
Well, I think it's important. Well, there's a few things, right? I don't think there's one straight answer, but I think having hobbies is healthy. An outlet, basically, focusing on the positives, finding that joy that brings and fulfills you. If you don't have a hobby or things that interest you and bring you joy, I feel like that you're at risk of, being burnt out or always feeling, not fulfilled and negative. So hobbies, I think, is a big one. Exercising and having a healthier, positive lifestyle, I think is a huge role. And then also your sleep.
Yeah.
I know from experience, sleep is really important and can make or break you, I feel like.
And I agree with you. Sometimes when you don't have sleep, I have twins right now, and sometimes it could be challenging the routine sleep. So we're kind of like discussing how we can best address that, especially when they want to stay up late, having naps and all throughout the day, and then during midnight they're still awake until 2 a.m. So that's something that we need to address, right? And also, I agree with you. Finding a hobby or finding an outlet is really important. I started doing gardening as one of part of my routine. So after seeing patients in the clinic, I tend
Oh,
to garden, and I feel like it creates like a dopamine and serotonin release with my brain. I feel like very fulfilled after a long day, right? I feel like every time I see the plants, I feel like energized to see them bloom, and the roses, the smell of the roses,
yes.
and the flowers, the green. I think the green environment, I think kind of like the green zone kind of like reframe my mindset from being foggy to more focused, to more productive, more creative side of me.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's good.
yeah,
I plan to get into gardening this year. I was going to plan on doing that. It's on my to-do list. My
yes,
hobby is painting and taking care of my cat. I think those are my hobbies right now.
yeah. And in the modern mental health, also the access to care could also be limited for some. And now a lot of our patients end up resulting into social media usage. And they had made mental health more visible than ever. So we see this influencers, we see this mental health advocates talking about mental health. Is it helping awareness, or do you think it is adding overwhelming stimuli for them?
I think it could be both. It depends on what you're looking at. I've seen both. I've experienced both myself with, I think, just like the news, the media of what's going on in the world right now. So if that's all you're watching, which we all know or should know, if you don't know, the news is geared towards anxiety, I feel like, and depression. So I feel like that's going to increase if that's all you're watching is about the wars or the economy or homeless. Those are all very, daunting negative subjects. But if you limit that and switch gears to maybe something more positive about, because there's a lot of good out there too, of what people helping, people giving back, volunteering. Those are things that I think are going to bring a smile to your face and see that there is good out there. And so then that's going to be uplifting to you. So I think it can be used either way. I think it's also up to the user to limit their exposure to, negative impact.
True, there's so much news also that are not validated as per se or not true. So there's a lot of fake news too, and be careful with AI because
Yeah.
sometimes AI could actually create stories or news feeds that are not basically true and out of basis. So make sure it's validated, make sure the source is correct, and make sure to do your research and also choose what you're watching. Because I think there's algorithm. If you keep on watching wars, the social media will give you more news feeds like that. So if you're interested with wars and wars, so you'll see your all your feeds is all about war. If you click on a violent news or a news that results into terrorism, then they will give you more terrorism feeds. So be very careful and be selective with what you're watching because they can really overwhelm you and can make your anxiety worse, like making you uneasy too. So be very careful with that. But
Yes.
with technology also comes with advantage. We know that telehealth has expanded significantly. How has it improved access, especially for women, children, and underserved communities, especially on your role right now as a psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner?
I feel like it's actually expanded and makes it, from my point of view, it makes it easier to see the patient on the go if they're busy lives, if they're limited with resources to get to you because of maybe gas prices or their car is broken or whatever the case that they can't get from point A to point B. I think it makes it a little bit easier. Um, some people enjoy that in-person connection, and so I've heard some people express that they miss that, in-person feel. But I think you can, achieve it through telehealth. It's just as good as in person, and it gets the job done through, you can still do everything that you need to do. You can do medications, you can put in lab orders, you can do therapy sessions. So you can do everything. I think it's just about how you deliver it through telehealth and, the platform you're using.
Great. And we want to make sure that it's HIPAA compliant. We also need to make sure that we get our patient consent. And we need to make sure also that the patient understands that they are being seen in a secure environment. And we always need to tell them they are safe. Whatever we talk about remains confidential. Just in the exception that if they're suicidal, homicidal, or they could not take care of themselves, or they are not safe, then that's where in confidentiality is not respected. Okay. And you know that mental health challenges is everywhere right now. What are you seeing as the more commonly mental health challenges in the families and healthcare workers today?
You know what? I'll start with healthcare workers. Healthcare workers is actually easier. I think it's the demand and expectations. It depends on what healthcare worker, right, that you're talking about. But in general, we're understaffed, overworked, and the expectations are there, through the ceiling. There is no limit to the expectations. I feel like the sky's the limit, right? So then that induces anxiety, depression, self-worth that declines. So these are the things that I think a lot of healthcare workers face on a daily basis. So if you're not mentally, emotionally strong, you could be at high risk of, mental and emotional detriments, basically. And as families, I mean, I think that trickles into families, right? Because then if you're not feeling good, then it's going to trickle down into your kids or your loved ones, and they're going to feel the stress and the impact. So I think I think those are the biggest challenges, honestly, is the support, the understanding, feeling heard, feeling seen. When you do ask for help, getting some type of support, either which way. I think that goes both ways for all populations and workforces, honestly.
I agree with you. A lot of healthcare workers right now experience more stress, and especially the nurses out there, the bedside they said is getting harder than usual. Patients complexity or short staffing could be one. The lack of administrative support, and also the economy also can play a big role, like what's going on with wars, prices of the gas. Um, yeah, there's so much fear of the unknown, and also expectations to be good and to show up to work, right? Some nurses ended up having two jobs, three jobs, or working 12 hours, or stretching themselves more than usual because of being able to assume the breadwinner role and also provide for the family. Sometimes they send money overseas and support also their family overseas. So there are different constraints and challenges that we really need to be mindful and be sensitive about, especially when we talk about mental health for them. And one thing that stands out also is our blend leadership with compassion. I think that's something that we really need to be mindful about to be really there with our patients, to be able to see them, hear them out, and validate their feelings, and tell them you are not alone, and there's help, and help is always available for them.
Yeah, I think that's important. Hmm.
And Kim, leadership, hope, and advice is the next segment of our conversation. What does compassionate leadership in healthcare look like today for you?
I feel like that's a heavy question. I don't think we get enough of it, honestly. It took me a long time to actually face first compassionate leadership, honestly, in as a nurse. I don't know if I actually saw it at bedside. So that's something that's pretty rare to see. I think it would mean somebody, when you say like, hey, when you look tired, or you look like you're having a hard day, or you look overwhelmed, maybe they ask you how you're doing, and maybe you actually tell them the truth that you're overwhelmed, overworked, you're tired, you didn't sleep well last night, you're working two jobs, and get support maybe, or just feel heard, just feel seen and understood. I think that's important. I think it goes a long way with family, which I don't think you ever see actually in bedside nursing or nursing in general, is family. When family needs they can't go to work, right? Because their child is sick, and maybe they're a single parent, or the babysitter got sick, so now they don't have anybody to watch the kid, and now they can't go to work. I think showing a little compassion would be being understanding instead of being reprimanded, or have a negative outlook on you for having to take care of your loved ones, which is the field we are in, is caring for loved ones or people in general. So compassionate leadership is being understanding, being flexible, willing to help when they can, giving resources when their subordinates need it. I think that shows compassionate leadership.
I agree with you. Like if they if they are feeling supported, or if they feel that somebody's out there to at least hold their hands and then let them feel that they are not alone with what they're experiencing. I think that's something to be mindful about, especially, single moms taking care of kids. Imagine them, right? Or somebody who is an immigrant coming in here and could be English as second language. If they feel like isolated, or they feel like they don't belong to the group, if there's still an ongoing bullying at work, which could happen, right? Especially for the new grad, or feeling of overwork, understaffing could be a very big issue until now. So it's not safe for the patient. It's not also safe for the healthcare workers to be in that spot, because it can put a lot of emotional constraints, and they can end up not liking what they're doing. If they're overworked, if they're providers and seeing more patients than usual with high volume, high acuity patients, and they could not finish their charting and they cannot balance their schedule, it's really tough. So that's why I think a little bit of compassion can go a long way, and making sure that we support them, right? And we tell them that it's a safe space for them to talk about their emotions, and they should not be ignored, because if you ignored those symptoms of burnout and also the symptoms of bullying at work on the bad side could also be um, feeling isolating, and they could end up hurting themselves or hurting somebody if they feel like there's no easy way out, or there's no solution to what they're experiencing, right? So they could have um, clouded mentality or a brain fog.
Hmm.
And what advice would you give the nurses or healthcare professionals, nurse practitioners that are emotionally drained or discouraged? I think we felt it in some ways. And is that normal, or do you think it's just them feeling it? What will you tell them right now?
I think what's most important is that you should remember that your work matters. I think that is important to remind yourself, is that you matter, your work matters. The care you provide, changes lives. It impacts lives, and people, will go out of their way to try and make you feel, sometimes, not always, but usually they'll say something, give you something, do something to make you know that they're grateful that you took care of them. I think that's, a really important message just to remember. I think we're doing big things if you use your skills as a nurse, meaningful, and the tools that you were gained as a nurse or privileged, right, as a nurse, that you can do with your license and use it as a tool to reach others and impact and make a difference. Everything you do matters. People listen to you. They respect you. You're, in some people's eyes, you're just as equal, if not the same or better than, an MD that went to med school. Like, you are knowledgeable. You are worthy. You are, everything you do, you can change lives if you care and show compassion and do your job as a nurse.
Yes, and love your work, and it will love you back. And creating an
Right.
impact is important more than your roles, your education. I think if you touch lives and change the life of the people that surrounds you, make them be an inspiration and be that change, you can do it, right? And also be easy on yourself. Sometimes we're so negative, like, oh my god, I'm so tired. How about reframe your mindset? Oh my god, I accomplished so much today, right? And that will actually change your mindset, right? And your the way you think and you feel and you behave. Those are the triad that we need to work on as nurses, and try to be patient, be kind, and talk to yourself in the mirror like you are worthy, you are enough, you're capable of doing great things. And it's really important to love ourselves too, right? Before we can love others or show caring, um, or show care to others, you really need to self reflect like, am I giving enough self care for me to give love to others too? Right.
Yeah, that's true. I think caring for yourself is not stepping away from, like, the mission that you want, but it's also about how you stay in it. And
Mhm.
staying in it, exactly like you said, you have to take care of yourself, positive affirmations, through hobbies, through exercise, healthy diet. I think that's all, yeah, that all ties together.
And what gives you hope about the future of mental health care right now?
I think is that people are outreaching more. They want more resources. They want to take care of themselves and their mental health. And I think there's more of awareness growing, as education grows and they understand the importance of it and how it impacts all aspects of life. I think that's what gives me hope that it's only going to improve. Even through AI, like, you could use AI to support mental health, right? In certain ways. So even like electronics, in the electronic world, it seems like it's growing and supporting, and like you can use, it's just, it's constantly growing. So I think that's what brings me hope, is that it's just going to keep growing, expanding, learning. And I think that's what's important, is that you just keep elevating it, right?
Yes, making sure that we also apply precision medicine. I think the future of mental health care is so clear that later on we will have a precision psychiatry. So um, my only hope is that we have different tools that could improve the care, like AI. Efficient psychiatry will be in our advantage as healthcare providers and our patients too. So there's
Mm.
pharmacogenomics. The more implementation of this could actually reduce trial and error medications. So
Yeah.
the proper treatment plan is given to the correct patient, not just doing a cha 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 or a move that is like a blind spot. So we really need to have an individualized, precise treatment plan for our patients so that there's no delay in care and we can help more people and we can help more patients that are struggling with their own mental health, right?
Yeah, that would be great.
Now, what message would you like to share the nurses during the Nurses Month and Mental Health Awareness Month?
I think just that, your rest matters, your healing matters. I would encourage nurses to give themselves the same compassion they so freely give others. Because I kind of like what you were just saying. If your cup isn't full and you feel like giving because you don't have the bandwidth or the ability, like you're not going to be able to do your job as a nurse or nurse practitioner. So make sure you're taking care of yourself. I think that's really important.
Thank you for that piece of advice. And a lot of our viewers are definitely going to practice that. Self gratitude, self care, very important.
Yes.
And what does mindful healing personally mean to you?
When I think of mindful healing, I would say that it's kind of something like a vacation or a retreat. That's what I think of. So like meditation, yoga, something that's like not strenuous. That's what comes to mind when I think of uh, healing, mindfulness, healing. What about you? What do you think?
I think mindful healing for me is being able to apply the 5 M's, like
Oh, that's a
meditation, the
good.
mindfulness, the meaningful engagement, mastery, finding a job or hobby that I enjoy, which I'm doing right now, and also
Mm,
meaningful connections with friends and family, meditation, a lot of exercise movement, which I'm guilty that I haven't been doing exercise lately. I think I need to incorporate more with my routine. But those are things that are really, for me, making my mental health more improved each day. I know sometimes we could be lacking sleep as a providers and we could be behind our work sometimes. So I think a lot of time management too is very important. And
mm,
do not forget about yourself. Like taking 1 hour just to have a time for yourself is very important.
right. I agree.
Now, Miss Kimberly, um, are there any personal struggles on yourself, or are there any mental health issues or struggles that you're experiencing or have experienced in the past, and how were you able to offset that?
Um, I mean, I have in the past, yes. I think anxiety and depression, this is like a everyday struggle.
Mhm.
Um, but I think I have always recognized that I have like this determined mentality. So whenever I am faced with anxiety or depression, I do use like the box breathing to stay in control, to take the edge off. And then I've been practicing, it was actually at age 25 is when I started practicing positive affirmations and changing the way that I see the world. I didn't believe it. And I just forced myself to do it because I was so sad. I was such in a dark place at 25. And I said, well, they can't get worse than this. So I just started telling myself and doing things that were positive. At the time, I didn't feel like they were positive, but you knew what was positive. People were like, oh, tell yourself how great you are. Like I didn't always believe it at first, but I just did it. which at the time I didn't know was cognitive behavioral therapy of replacing a negative with a positive. And through time, I actually changed my outlook on life. And now every time I'm faced with a challenge or a difficult situation or decision, I always end my thoughts with a positive that it's all going to work out. It's going to be fine. I'm going to make it. I'm going to get through this. I'm going to figure this out. It's going to end well. And yeah, it may not be perfect. I may not be 100% happy with it, but I can tell you I'm happy. And I know that I did my best, and that's how I manage my stress and my depression today. And I'm going to be, Jesus, I'm going to be 41 in about a week. So that has been a long journey for me to get here. It didn't come overnight. It came with persistence and practice and determination, which I do know that I have determination just ingrained in me. I've had determination since I was born, to face everything I faced in life and to make it through these challenges. I think I just was born with determination. So I think between that and then I learned how to be positive with a great combination, and here I am today.
I love your energy, and you don't look 41. You are aging gracefully. That's something that I can tell you. And
You're so
your
Thank you.
positive, yeah, your positive outlook in life really have come a long way to where you at right now. I'm so proud of you. I've been cheering for you and rooting for you since day one. Imagine we were having the conversation like you were a little bit self-sabotaging yourself, like, oh my God, I feel like I'm not getting it, or I feel like I'm not doing enough. But I told you, no, you're gonna get through it, which you did. Now you're actively practicing. Now you have your private practice, and you're doing really well. And I'm rooting for you. I could not wait. What's your next chapter is? And happy birthday! Yoo-hoo, in a week.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's been interesting. And yeah, you were a huge support while I was going through school and on part of this journey. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Appreciate you too, Kim. I've seen your growth from being novice, right, to more proficient and competent provider where you're at right now. And thank you again for joining me and sharing your insight, leadership, and your heart with our audience today. Really, really learned so much about you today. I think 1 hour is not enough. We can do more later on. And to all the nurses and healthcare workers, caregivers listening to this podcast, thank you for all the things that you do, not just during Nurses Month, but every single day. We hope this conversation reminds you that your mental health matters too. Thank you for tuning in to Mindful Moments. We'll see you in the next episode. I'm your host, Pedro Morante, reminding everyone that you are not alone and we're here for you. Thank you, Ms. Kim. I'm so proud of you. Woohoo! Happy Nurses Month to us, and also Mental Health Month to both of us.
Thanks for listening to Mindful Moments with Pedro Morante. Be sure to follow the podcast so you'll never miss an episode. If you find value in our time together, leave a quick review. It helps more people discover the space we're creating. For updates and more reflections, follow us on social media. Until next time, take care.